Hey everybody, it's your DM, your best friend Drew, and also your midnight boy, which is a boy at midnight who's chilling.
Oh, so
I
what
don't know.
that is.
I don't know. I'm your midnight boy.
It's not even midnight.
It was the first thing that came to mind. Don't give me shit. Okay. So hey everyone, I'm sorry we didn't release an episode this week. Some stuff came up. Our good friend Edmer, he's actually doing his job and doing horse stuff. So
Nerd.
he's not with us today. So we won't be releasing any episodes. But we've got some questions from some of the fans that we were hoping that we could answer for you guys, and as well as just some basic info on the campaign. We do really appreciate you guys listening, so go ahead and leave us a like, leave us a comment. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and that is at 2 Elves 1 Dwarf on Twitter. The links will be in the description below, of course, as well. And we do have a new member of our family joining us today. He'll be a character coming up in the later episodes, so this will be fun. But go ahead, Colin, introduce yourself.
Hello there. I'm Colin. Known these guys for about a decade. Got roped into playing some D&D. Ready to get wild.
That's right.
My character is Renton the Bow-Legged. He is an elf, and he's bow-legged. So we're gonna get wild.
And that's right. We have another elf in 2 elves and 1 dwarf. So the name won't change, but multiple elves.
Keep it OG.
It's not important.
Yeah, it's not
The name
important.
didn't even
That's right.
bring up our characters in the first
Yeah,
place.
the name doesn't matter too much.
It's
I
about
guess.
the brand.
Irony, right?
And speaking of which, that actually kicks us off to our first question, given to us by a @Rach_AEL Johnson. Follow her on Instagram; she's the best. It said, "How did you decide on the podcast name?"
Well,
It was long and hard.
yeah. Well,
Voting.
we switched off a couple ideas. Ultimately, 2 elves, 1 dwarf. We do have 2 elves. We have 1 dwarf in the group, and then we have
and a
some
human.
weenie named Cletus, who's a
shit.
human.
My life.
So I don't know. It just kind of stuck. 2 elves, 1 dwarf. We had some other ideas we were bouncing off the walls, but I
Our
don't know.
first pick was Dungeons and Drews, but it got vetoed by
Yeah,
the DM.
it did not work.
Unfortunately.
Everyone loved it but him.
Yeah, so ultimately we didn't do that because who wants a Dungeons and Dragons podcast named after themselves? So
Leave a comment if you want us to change it to Dungeons and Drews.
it's not happening.
I will put on a Twitter
Poll.
for all the fans, so feel free to vote on that.
Oi, Letty. I gotta throw that out here just
Oi,
to make
Letty.
sure that everyone knows Edmer's still part of the show. But
He still is, unfortunately, but
Oh.
oh.
we love it. Hey, I'm just a little salty after how he treated Cletus. So.
We get ready. We got a long road ahead of us.
Our next question comes from Eden Johnson, and she asked, "How did y'all meet? Whose idea was it to start playing D&D?"
Oh man, that was like we've all known each other for so long.
Middle
S-
school.
Middle school,
High
all
school.
through high school.
Since I was born.
we got
Yeah.
a couple
Some
sets of
siblings.
brothers in here. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's
We've kind of all
we've known
been
each other
around for a
long
while, but I think, well, I for me anyways, I didn't start playing D&D until like 3 years ago, 2 years ago, and I was like with this friend group that I had, and like it was pretty fun, but I was like, man, this would be way more fun with my own friends. And so then I was like, yo, you guys want to play D&D? And then I know a couple of some of you guys had played before, right?
Mm-hmm.
no, I hadn't.
You hadn't?
Why
All right.
not?
Well,
I laid
Parker
down
has.
Skyrim, and I was like, you know what? It's kind of like Skyrim. We in.
There you go.
I'm
So
down.
and so then we started playing. That was a crazy adventure. And
We played
so-
for like 9 months straight on one campaign.
yeah. So that was
It was
a
great.
party. Now we actually have 2 campaigns going. Cletus is a DM for one of them.
Present.
We actually just got done playing that one. So we're just ultra nerds. We're double dip like no other. But yeah, Eden, thanks so much for asking us a question. We appreciate that.
Yeah, and the next question is actually by a girl named Kylie. She says, "What goes into creating your character?"
She sounds hot.
Don't tell your wife that. Kylie
Plot
LeBaron,
twist.
if you're listening. your husband thinks you're hot, which is good.
She doesn't listen to this.
So much support.
So much.
She's gonna leave a question but not listen.
Exactly.
Doesn't actually care about the answer.
Exactly. She's just a nice.
She's here for
nice
the
wife.
walls, man.
There you
And
go.
so, yeah, so she just said, what goes into creating a character? Do you start with an idea and develop it as it goes on, or do you know exactly what the personality is going to be like when you create it?
I feel like with your first character you ever make is based a lot on yourself and how you yourself would react to things, but then as you play more, you can start to create characters based off of how you feel they would act, whether it's based off of yourself or not. And
Traits you got.
it comes with a lot of dice rolling and backstories, and it's actually a large process creating your own character.
So would you say your first character was widely based off of yourself?
Other than the fact of it being a woman.
Okay, I was going to address that. I was going to
I
say.
mean, I mean, yeah, the way she acted was
Yeah.
based a lot on myself.
I
but,
got that. I got
But
that.
in this one, mine, I'm a very boisterous individual, but my character in Two Elves and a Dwarf is more very like proper and stealthy, and before is barge in and hack everyone's head
Just
off.
open a door
But
and take out.
now it's a lot more stealth, a lot more sneaky.
Except
and-
for when he tries to kill someone and messes up.
And
Yep.
completely messes.
So
that's the roll of the dice for you.
yeah, no, and the same thing with what Pirates was saying, Braden. It does take a lot of thought into making a character. It's not like you're just rolling dice. I mean, at the end, yeah, you are just rolling dice, but when you actually get into the role playing aspect of thinking for example, I play this really chubby dwarf who is kind of a moron, but's got this evil side to him, and trying to think instead of how I would handle situations, but more how Toby would handle it. It just makes the game so much more fun.
Toby's a dick.
Yeah, Toby's
Right.
a total.
So that's friends.
So-
Right. And everyone, I promise I'm not a pedophile in real life. So,
There are no 14-years
Oh
involved in this.
jeez. Oh jeez.
No
And
14-years were harmed in the filming of this video.
But if you're 14, just be safe and just unsubscribe. It's fine.
Probably shouldn't be too young.
Yeah, if you're
Anyway.
under 16, just go ahead and stop listening to this anyways. There should be a parental guidance
A
up there.
parental.
Right.
But hey, who needs that?
Shout out to all
shit?
the pairs.
And then my character in Two Elves and a Dwarf kind of started out with an accent that kind of disappeared, and it's probably not coming back.
The southern accent.
So
As you travel, you lose accents.
Two elves and a dwarf.
yeah,
Two whales and a dwarf.
that was unfortunate, and I'm no longer going to be doing that.
It's okay. We're still gonna keep the intro.
Yeah,
So,
it's true.
Okay, so next question by Kylie as well. Says, for all of those who have never been the DM or Dungeon Master, if you created your own campaign, what would you do differently from the campaigns that you have done in the past?
And so I'm just gonna bar Drew and I from this because we've been DMs
Yeah,
before.
we've
so.
done this, so I'm gonna open this up to you three. What would you do? I'm gonna kind of amend this question. If you had it your way and you were sitting in the hot seat, what would you do? How would you run it? Would you do a different genre? What would you do?
Would knock be available as a spell?
I
Knock
think
should not be available.
I think it'd be a lot easier if you came up or found the premise of a story and then built off of it yourself.
Yeah.
And made it your own. Because I think coming up with your own everything would be extremely difficult.
Yeah.
But at least starting off with a
Tough.
premise and a base story would make for a really good campaign.
Yeah.
And just it goes without saying, prep your story before you start. You don't want to completely improv the whole thing.
What?
Prepare.
True.
Why you
It'll
calling me
mostly
out like
be
No.
it'll mostly be improv anyways because everybody's dumb and doesn't do what
That's
you
right.
want
And-
them to.
and
But-
for those-
Well, when you
Don't play
want to check
along.
out a chest, man, you got to check out chest.
And Parker brought up an awesome point the other day. Being a DM is like buying your cat a huge toy castle that he can play on, but he spends 7 days playing in the box it came in. And that's exactly
play
what
with the
being a
box, man?
campaign is. You set up this huge adventure, and then your children of players spend like the whole time just in a little dink in the hole somewhere that you had no idea was going to happen.
You
What are
gotta
talking
drop
about
some
dinking holes,
hints.
man?
So yeah, exactly. So it's just you got to roll with
Them
it and
punches.
stuff, but
It's true.
it's fun.
Nice
You-
pun, though.
I-
Roll.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
Oh,
Yeah.
Hey.
I would recommend any D&D player who's like, oh man, has this like idea or something, just do it. It's a party. Like it gives a whole new aspect to playing Dungeons and Dragons. Being a player, a blast. Being a dungeon master, really fun, extremely stressful, and it's all up to you whether or not the players are having fun. So it's pretty fun.
It's true, man. And Devin, what would you do differently?
I think something I want to do as a DM would be like to run a kind of apocalypse, like zombie apocalypse type session, and I would like take a map of your local area and use that as the setting for the campaign, and just have your players actually try and survive the zombie apocalypse in their own town.
Oh, okay.
And I think that would be a lot of fun.
And
Yeah,
so
it would be.
Would
That'd be
you
really
choose
cool.
like real stores for them to go to?
Yeah,
and-
so like pull up an actual map of your local area, and if you want to go to Walmart, you have to actually have a Walmart in your local area, and you can go try and ransack that for supplies and stuff like that.
No,
It's
or
like,
they're-
or if you want to travel to like a major city that you feel like has been like you'll have more success there, you have to come up with like travel plans
Yeah.
and all that good stuff.
Like if you wanted to go to Vegas and try and survive in Vegas, you could hop in a car and head down the highway.
Take, like,
you know?
Wow,
12
that's
hour
when you run out of
travel.
Gotta
gas.
find gas.
It's
though.
gotta find more gas.
But it's hard enough to survive in Vegas like with not zombies. there.
Yeah, can you imagine a zombie Vegas?
Oh my
You
god.
It's a
got
lot
all
of
these
naked
hookers
people.
coming at you, and they don't want to stop.
Just
man.
a lot of
You'll get
pizza.
more. You'll get
Just
more than
my
the
face
Z
does.
virus on that.
That's right. All right, awesome, great questions. So our next question comes from Courtney Shalise on Instagram, and it is, what is your favorite thing about this podcast? Oh, nothing.
I'll answer.
Hate it
outside
all.
source.
Yeah, go ahead. What do you
Yeah,
think?
from my outside perspective before joining these guys, it's my biggest thing before joining. I thought it was going to be super strenuous, like you had to roll for everything you wanted to do. But we kind of, it's the basis of D&D, like our DM will explain. But it's kind of the basis of D&D, but we've just kind of made it our own and go
Yeah.
about it. And it's a little more, not even a little more, it's a lot more fun, man.
Yeah, and for me, the like obviously I run the storyline, but like I set the basis of things, and you guys just run with it. It's really fun to see how like I have this story, and it's just turned into like this huge drama, you'll say, and it's really cool. And also like having a day a week, getting away from like college, work. Chilling, wives, and then just coming and hang out with your friends and just chilling and killing stuff, man.
Chilling
you know,
and
it's
killing,
fun.
man.
It's fun. And
It's true. And
the
you know-
podcast, it's actually really really fun. To
And
do.
something I like about D&D is like you'll never play the same thing twice. You know,
That's right.
Something special that Drew has done with this one was like you start out and there's absolutely no magic. And like we're kind of stumbling upon like magical things here and there, but in just an average campaign that you'll find all over the place, there's tons of magic and wizards and sorcerers. But the fact that we have to build characters that specialize in like physical weapons and magic is
Melee attacks and such.
yeah, magic is all but unheard of or extinct, and it's very different, and you'll always find something different with each campaign.
Yeah.
No, and I mean, just speaking from a DM's perspective, I mean, you like Colin was saying, you can go through and you can have them roll for every single thing, but it's not nearly as fun.
Yeah, when
Exactly.
when you have like, I mean, I've had a DM in the past who's been extremely stickler on the rules. Like, for example, I was this ranger, I think, and I was trying to like rappel off this tree and like be all stealth and like shoot an arrow while I was doing it, and I came up with this logical way. I tied the rope around my waist and slowly lowered myself down until I stuck, and then started stringing my bow and shooting it. And the DM was like, well, you're not proficient in acrobatics, so I don't think that's going to work and stuff. I'm like, okay, well, I guess I won't do that then.
I'm gonna fall.
So, like, if you have someone who's really stickler on the rules, maybe just be like, yo, dude, this is supposed to be fun. I don't know.
Well, that kind of bounced back to what you were saying before. Like, it's the DM's job to make it fun. For
Yeah,
the
exactly.
players.
And it's
you're
like,
painting this picture for them
it's-
to roll through. So if you make
yeah.
it super hard, it's not
Yeah,
that
and
hard.
it's awful. It's almost more fun for me to just sit back and, like, with Edmer, he does
Oh
some
my
weird
gosh.
stuff, and he's awesome. But
Like weirder than like pedophile stuff.
yeah,
makes Chester look normal.
and so like
Chester, Cletus. Ooh.
Thank you.
both,
Nice.
both you could say. But like it's just better for me to not have him roll persuasion or charisma. And he's showing me how to like solve the problem with the librarian. I love that. I like him talking me through it all instead of just leaving up to a roll. So much better. So.
Oh. Definitely.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, you leave your everyday life to jump into this fantasy world that's anything is possible, and
Right.
it makes it more fun having anything be possible.
You don't come here to get more stressed out.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
You're supposed to leave
enough
stress to
rules.
have fun.
Yeah, exactly. All right, next question, Devin.
So the next question is also from Rachel Johnson. She asked, "Would you change your characters now that you're established in the campaign?"
I can't answer that.
I can't answer that either.
I
mean,
kind
for-
of changed mine because like I had the accent and now it's gone.
And no, there's
So-
nothing there.
Yeah.
I mean, to work with the campaign, we had 3 different choices. Yeah, 3. There was a human, an elf, or
A dwarf.
a dwarf. Those were the 3. And in other campaigns, I've like kind of ventured out and found like less known. Like I was a lizard folk, and I've looked at being like a pixie and like all these other kind of weirder stuff that you don't find. But I really do like being Pyrish the elf,
rogue.
Yeah.
the rogue elf.
Rogue that no one knows.
That's my thing is,
That's
is
right.
I've mainly been humans. You know, just because, you know, it's almost like, you know, I want to be that guy.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, so many people, you know, like the
The amount of
podcast
elves in this group is insane.
Exactly. There's 2 elves and a dwarf. I can be one already. So I just decided, you know, go for human, be the boring guy, be the pedophile. It's fine.
Represent.
I'll take one for the team.
Represent us humans, man.
Repping it, man.
Yeah, and so just kind of giving a little what Braden was saying with the how there's only 3 choices. This campaign is extremely different than traditional Dungeons and Dragons. I mean, it's based off of the same like rules and concepts. Like you roll the d20 for the outcome. You have modifiers. You've got negative modifiers and everything like that. But it's not in a sense where like you play Dungeons and Dragons and your DM sets up this elaborate campaign where you run into like dragons left and right and strange monsters and weird slimes that get rid of your armor and weapons, and that's super annoying. But
Stuff that's out of your control.
yeah, and so like it's almost like I wanted to make this unique. I wanted to make this story so that like instead of like most campaigns that I've played, I was already this great adventurer. I was abnormal. I wasn't just an average Joe. And so I wanted to play on that where it's like just this random group of guys who stumbled onto something they didn't mean to are all of a sudden plunged into this whole story and had to develop over time. And that's why there's like no magic around, and they're slowly figuring out like what's happening to them and why they were asleep for 10 years. And so it's different than D&D. So like if something goes on in the show where you're like, oh, that's not D&D.
You're right.
Well, you're right. It's different.
You're
we
right,
don't
but
care.
you're wrong.
Yeah. And so we're playing it different. It's based off of the game, but it is a whole new story. It's a whole new concept. It's a whole new rules. And especially when we get into the later seasons, later episodes of the show, as we're going for the long haul here, it's going to be, you're going to really see how it's different. Like, combat's going to be different, and just the whole roles is going to be weird. So, just bear with us. It's still going to be a Dungeons & Dragons-esque podcast, but it is going to be a little different. So,
Freestyle, baby.
exactly.
And continue, you know, still send us your questions. You know, maybe you'll get a shout out. You know, you'll get a few more followers on Instagram.
Yeah, and please share the show if you have friends who are like, you know, play Dungeons & Dragons. We love to hear what you guys are doing, what you like to listen to, what kind of campaigns you've run, what your characters are like. If you had character ideas, If you share the show, you might end up as a character on the show. We'd love that. And again, you can follow us on all the social medias that are listed below. Again, I'm your midnight boy. I'm slurring my rules. So words.
Words are hard, man.
Yeah, but we really appreciate it. We don't pay anything to promote the show. It's all just by word of mouth. And we're really looking forward to getting on with the show and moving forward. So please feel free to reach out to us. We're really cool, I think. I don't know.
My mom thinks so.
Yeah, my mom doesn't.
Yeah.
I think I'm cool.
That's
but-
just
And also, I just have to say this quick shout out to all of our Serbians
That's right.
in the audience. This
Love
Count
you
at
guys
8%, baby.
so
Exactly.
much. You guys are awesome.
10% of our listeners are from Serbia.
Which that is so cool.
So shout out to you guys for one, understanding English, even though Midnight Boy here can't put a sentence
Speak it
together.
properly.
Cannot talk.
So
Sorry if you can't understand certain things.
so good for you on that, and Vlad, when you're out there, I guarantee one of you is named Vlad.
that's a little racist.
It's not.
Serbia's
They're
a
white.
race.
It's not racist.
Okay.
Clear.
Another thing too that I gotta say, in our earlier episodes, I know the sound quality is not that great. That's our first run of things.
Didn't know what we were doing.
Yeah, we didn't know what we were doing exactly. So things are getting better, as you can definitely hear my voice now, which is extremely important. So
And different.
and different, exactly. I was also sick for the first month of the recordings. I apologize, but
Yeah, we got all new.
Damn you for
bunch
being
of new.
sick.
I know humans, man, we get sick too much.
Yeah, we got a bunch of new equipment and new additions to help you understand us better and to help make the podcast as best as it can be. So.
Beef up that production,
That's right. And
That's
so we're going to get back on schedule here shortly. As soon as Edmer gets back from his holiday, we'll be able to start putting out shows as quickly as possible. So again, thank you so much for being a listener, and have fun from your midnight boy.
I just wanted to add really quick, officially,
So many.
how
ambitions.
many elves and dwarves do we have in this campaign?
Well, now with
a good
the
point.
bow-legged joining us, we've
So
got
it's two-
three.
3 elves.
So we have
Three
three
elves
elves, a
and a
human,
One
and a dwarf.
dwarf and a human.
3 elves, one
A human
human,
and a dwarf.
one dwarf.
Yeah.
Yep.
See, it
Alright.
just doesn't roll off the tongue like 2 elves and
Yeah,
a dwarf.
so-
Exactly.
3 elves, a human.
Sounds so nice.
Like butter.
Like butter.
Threw it
But-
Oh
off.
shoot! Imagine that Twitter handle. Yikes.
Like I said before, if you think we should change our name back to Dungeons and Drews, leave a comment.
Fill out the Twitter poll.
Twitter
please.
poll, DMs, start a hashtag, bring it back.
Hashtag
Dungeons and Drews.
Sign a petition.
Doesn't
Hashtag Dungeons
matter
and
if
Drews 2K team.
every fan in the world wants it to be Dungeons and Drews, it won't happen. So I will
sounds like a
retire.
challenge.
Dreams
That
crushed.
sounds like a challenge.
But all right, guys, thank you so much for being a listener. Have a wonderful night. We appreciate you guys, and I'll talk to you later. Thanks. Bye.
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 Boy. That's so cringy.
Bye.